what's been on my mind. Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city light. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city, let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday, baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand.
Hi, my name is Brooke, and this is my handsome husband, Chuck, and we would like to welcome you to Freedom Ranch.
And in the background and in the foreground now, Capone and Capella, our two criminal dogs.
Who are in absolute heaven out here.
Absolutely in heaven. They're cooped up in the city in Raleigh most of the time, but now we're moving out here, and
yeah,
they are absolutely in heaven.
They get to have all the freedom that they want, being able to run around.
Yep. So we have 285 acres and about 60 acres roughly of fields, pasture land potential. It has 9 different springs on the property, so we have water everywhere, plus a river. And so we just have all kinds of resources here. The timber here is fantastic.
When we originally purchased this property, we weren't planning on moving up here until Chuck and I retired once the kids were in college, you know, so about 7 years from now, 6, 7 years from now. So we knew we wanted to build just a small cabin just to be able to come up and stay on the weekends. But then our gears shifted, you know, once we saw how much Gabe loved the land and how much we loved the land, and we decided that we wanted to move up here earlier. So with that, we started looking into building a cabin that we could live in. When we met with a builder, we had quite a bit of sticker shock with the price of timber right now, as most people know with building. You know, with COVID and everything that's going on, it was just outrageous. It was going to cost over $600,000 to build a 1,600 square foot cabin. We realized that that was just not in our budget. So Chuck, who is an out of the box thinker, came up with the idea of harvesting our own trees, our own white pines, and from our land. Since timber was the main issue with as far as pricing goes, why not use the wood from our own land? And so we have been doing that. We did a little bit in the previous video I showed of Chuck cutting some of them, reliving his logging days. And we realized quickly that it just wasn't safe for us to be doing. He didn't have the right saw, and so we left it up to a logger.
I was going to cut all the trees myself and see if we could then find a logger to pull them. But I also knew I needed a sawmill, a guy to come in with a sawmill to cut the trees into lumber. And so I was looking and found a guy named Bob Gill, B&G Lumber, and connected with Bob, and he's just been an amazing man for us. He's helped us so much, connecting me with James Durnall, the logger who pulled our trees, and you know, finished cutting the remainder of the trees that we wanted cut for the property, and did an incredible job. And then Bob came in and began sawing them. It took him probably 3 weeks, I think, to saw up the trees into logs and lumber. So now we've got the material for our house. So we decided to cut the trees, and we have to have them sawed into lumber. And then we realized, you know, we probably should try to dry these a little bit before we just start building with green lumber. So that led us to looking at solar kilns. Again, back to the internet, watching YouTube videos, learning about solar kilns. Didn't know anything about them. Found that, believe it or not, Virginia Tech, locally here within about an hour, has kind of the plans they put out for a solar kiln. So, but now we're going to be able to start drying our lumber. We don't have power up here yet, so we're drying our lumber using solar panels to power the fans, to dry the lumber using a greenhouse effect, because we have these 20-foot beautiful white pine logs, 10 by 12 dimensions. We wanted to be able to dry them at least a little bit, dry them down some. We're probably not going to dry them all away. To do that, we needed a larger kiln than what was in the plan. So my son Christian doubled the scale of the kiln. So now we have this monstrosity, the Taj Mahal of solar kilns that's 24 feet by 8 feet and about 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's a beauty. So
we're just praying a big wind doesn't come in and blow it over. That's like a big sail. So knowing that the kiln is going to take some time for the logs to dry out, we realized that we needed a place to live. You know, the kids start school in August, which is only 2 months away, and we are still roughing it when we come up here, and we knew that that was just not going to be feasible for a consistent basis. For the weekend, it's okay. We can come up here and get all dirty and then drive back home to Raleigh and get showered up. So we have decided to build a yurt on the property and to live in 700 square feet in a Mongolian tent, which I'll show a picture of if you don't know what a yurt is. It's awesome. It's awesome. So
I told you she was open to adventure. This is a good example, because the yurt is not necessarily my idea.
Yeah, it was mine. Well, I looked into places to rent for us, and you know there are yurts in the area, and I thought, well, we can rent a yurt, and then I thought, why don't we just get our own yurt, and then it can be a place for people to stay when they come visit once we move into the cabin, or eventually we can move it somewhere else on the property and rent it out as an Airbnb. So we considered it an investment.
That's what hooked me, was the potential for an investment. I like
the potential to make money off of it.
Yes, I like that opportunity.
So so that will get in August. What our plans are, or what we envision for this piece of property, is not only to become self-sustaining. You know, we aren't necessarily going to be living off grid. We are going to have electricity, the internet. The kids need the internet. That was the one condition, is that they need to be able to play games with their friends and whatnot.
Well, I need it for work too.
And you need it for work. Yep, I need it as well. So that, in that sense, we're not going completely off grid. And yes, we will have to go to the store to get milk. We're not going to have dairy cattle and stuff, but so even though we would like to get to a position where we could go off grid by having solar power, you know, we have well, septic, all that kind of stuff, we won't necessarily be completely off grid. I like some comforts of home. But and
we built an outhouse.
That's true, we did. That was one of the first things besides Grumpy's garage, was an outhouse for Chuck. Yeah, we called it the Long Drop. So anyways, what we
still working on a name, by the way. We could actually use a permanent name for it.
Yeah, I thought it was the Long Drop.
Well, okay, maybe it is. I wanted to call it the Long Drop Saloon, but you didn't
no, ew, that's gross. So anyways, what we're going to be doing once we get the yurt in place, start working on the cabin, and then we're going to build a horse farm and a pasture. We're going to build some fencing for the pastures, because we want to get horses. That was going to be the first animal that we'll get. One for Bree, and then an extra one so it has a companion and one of us can ride whenever we want as well. And then Gabe wants to do some chicken farming, so we'll get little chicks, hopefully some hogs, get some little piglets, and goats. I want a couple goats. Chuck doesn't want them. He doesn't see that there's a point, and I do. I think they're adorable, and they can help with the mowing of the grass and whatnot. And then eventually cattle. We'll eventually fence off more of the pasture land to get some cattle. And so that's kind of where our goal is to work towards. But beyond what we want for ourselves and, you know, how to help us sustain and live and grow gardens and all that kind of stuff, we want to use this land to bless others with. We feel that God has truly blessed us with this piece of property. I mean, the moment that we drove up on here and saw this view, I was in tears. I knew it. It was like instantaneous, like this is our home. This is where we are meant to be. And every time we come up here, it's the same feeling, and it just gets more and more solidified. I'm like getting teared up right now. It gets more and more solidified each time we come up that this is where God intends us to be. Yeah. And so we know we need to do something more than just use it for our benefit. And so one of the things, the organizations that we're involved in Raleigh is a place called Hope Reigns. And they rescue horses, and then they have children who have been abused or come from really awful backgrounds come and work with the horses and learn how to gain trust and that confidence of knowing that they can, you know, approach this huge animal and end up falling in love with it and get that self-awareness and that confidence. And we just absolutely love what they do. And so we have some back pasture land, we call it the backfield, that we feel would be an amazing place for that to happen if we wanted to do something like that here.
Yeah, and that's part of it, is just trying to you know, be open to whatever God's calling us to do, but knowing that this cannot just be about us. That, you know, the blessings that we've been given to have the fortune to even be here, to have property like this, to be able to afford this. We know it's not an accident. Yeah. And you know that we found this property that for us was perfect, yeah. Literally perfect for us in every way imaginable. That there has to be more to the story than just Chuck and Brooke. And so part of it, we have two real, you know, kind of overriding objective, well, three. One is a great place to retire. Two is to leave a legacy for our children and their children. Long after we're gone, we hope this property's, you know, available to them. Whatever happens in the world, they'll have a safe place to come and be, no matter what they want to do. And then finally, to figure out what is it that God wants us to do with this property for others, and how do we best serve in the community and serve others that need places like this to come to.
We're doing this video and the videos all in general to document our progression, transition from city living into the country life, right. and the steps that we're having to take, and a lot of it is for right now for our family and friends who are not near us. My mom still lives in California, and she has not been able to come out and see the land yet, and I don't know if she'll ever be able to. So this is an opportunity for her to see what we're doing here without having to actually fly all the way, especially with COVID, and she's got bad lungs, and we don't want to take that risk of her coming all the way out. So that's one of the reasons we're doing this, but eventually what our goal is with filming ourselves in this progress is to help others learn from what we're learning, and especially for me, because this is going to be such a huge learning curve that, you know, I'm looking forward to getting the resources that I get from YouTube already, and then putting those into action, and then having you all follow in the mistakes that I make or in the things that I learn, and you know, hopefully with Chuck's knowledge of certain things, and that we can help others be inspired and to learn how to do stuff as well. I mean, it's all a learning curve, and that's what life is all about.
I always use this saying, I have a very strong back and a very weak mind, but willingness to do just about anything physical that needs to be done, you know, and we figure stuff out. You know, that's what my dad taught me, was you just keep thinking, figuring a way out, and it really helps the creative process to live on a farm, live on a ranch, because you're always having to use your mind to solve problems that just, there isn't a manual for them.
Yeah, you'll see that you know, Chuck, you worked on roofing company when you were on doing roofs
for a couple of months while I was waiting to get a real job.
Yeah.
A real job in my profession. It was a real job.
We are not professional builders. And so I think what Chuck has produced with Grumpy's Garage and with the Kiln have turned out really, really well, considering he does not have a background in construction. But for those of you who do have a background in construction, you may watch this, you may be like, what are they doing? And we're just kind of learning as we go, and taking a few physical risks that probably aren't the wisest, but we're just like praying every day that God, you know, doesn't let us Let us come to see
Keep
him
us
too
safe.
soon.
Keep us safe. Yeah, for sure.
But it definitely, things have so far turned out, and and I get really stressed about certain things, and I'm like, how are we going to do this? How we can't find a builder, we can't do this, blah 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 blah. And Chuck is amazing because he will say, Brooke, just trust me, and I hear his voice as far as trusting him, but I also hear God's voice that says, trust me that this is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out, and it's a true leap of faith from coming from the comforts of our home. Sometimes I look at our home in Raleigh, and it's not huge, but it's home, and it's wonderful, and we love it. And I think, I'm going to leave all this behind to go live in a yurt. And then eventually a log cabin. And then eventually we'll build a larger home, actually right where we're sitting with the view, but that's way down the road. But I think, I can't wait. I can't wait for the adventure. I can't wait to see, how I grow, and especially how our children grow.
We're hoping that you guys follow the journey here. We'd love to, build a community of followers to kind of help us get better. We've got a lot to learn. We want to learn. Hopefully it'll be fun. She's got a great sense of humor. I'm Mr. Serious all the time.
We balance each other out.
Yep.
I'm like a little kid sometime, and
Yeah.
Chuck just looks at me like, do I have 3 teenagers?
We have nothing here. We started with not a single building.
Nothing.
It's just 285 acres of forest and trees
pasture.
and fields and pasture.
Yeah.
And so we're going to build this thing from scratch.
Yeah, we're excited, and we hope you guys are excited to join us on the journey and see where this land takes us in our life, and we can't wait to explore it and share it with you guys.
Sounds good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Make it happen.
That's it.
Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair.